Aloha, Alani Akio from Kona, Hawaii. And so, Terry, you were talking about doing the impossible. I suggest that there's ways to get a bit towards that possibility. So my question is, at Kona, Hawaii, we're experimenting with with going into basically social ventures. And I see this time as a great opportunity for not all nonprofits, but certainly a broad spectrum of nonprofits to start to look at becoming have for-profit driven arms. And I see a wonderful opportunity to do what hasn't happened in a capitalist society, and that is marry the values that we as nonprofits run from and have run away from profit making because of what capitalism has become in many of its worst forms. To marry that, if we have the values, if we have the values portion, to find niches in the current economy, and I think about healthcare, energy, all the things that Obama has mapped out, education. There are so many nonprofits that do their jobs well, and frankly, if you marry that with smart business people, you keep the value set, we could really start to re-engineer our economy and build wealth in ways that we haven't seen before. So is there, and we're just starting it, we're experimenting. Kanu is going to go into the energy and conservation business. We're going to take a shot at doing that. But I would wonder if you folks are advocating for nonprofits to start to look at building for-profit models to help get away from needing to perpetually ask for money.
Donna, would you like to answer that? Great question.
This isn't right on point. I don't think we're looking at what you are suggesting, but it raised in my mind, one of the things that we have looked at is, what do people need in these economic times? And one of the things we identified was they really need advice about their finances. How do they manage their budgets better? How do they protect their savings? How do they avoid financial fraud? So we came up with that Smart Money program, which we offer in every branch. But one thing I wanted to mention that you might not be thinking about nonprofits in this context, but to develop the curriculum for those Money Smart sessions at the branches, we turn to the nonprofits. We developed some on our own, but we turned to Hawaii Homeownership Center because they had, I'm looking at Gary over there, because they had already developed this area of expertise, how to counsel first-time home buyers on how to buy a house. We also turned to consumer credit counseling, Wendy Burkholder's group, because who knows better how to counsel one-on-one to people that are really in need and on the brink. So we turned to her, and she helped develop another aspect of that program. And I can think of several others, probably Michelle Kalhane from Hawaiian Community Assets, and people like that could probably partner with the bank, a commercial entity, in a different way than we have in the past to really help people in these uncertain times.
Well, I think that you have this blurring of the lines right now between nonprofits that are doing earned income or business-like activities and businesses with a social mission. Hey, Ed, this feels like a nonprofit every once in a while, doesn't it? But you're looking at the example of a business guy with a social mission. I mean, Ed's whole mission here is about helping to create local agriculture that gets supported by chefs like himself and others. So, the thing is, though, it's very, the failure rate for small businesses is higher than the failure rate for nonprofits. So before you jump into a business, you better think very carefully about whether you're positioned to do it well. And it's not, it's a skill set issue, it's a culture issue, it's a finance issue, and the like. And please don't be naive about how hard it is to run a small business. Just because you've got all the energy in the world and all the drive in the world, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And in doing so, you may actually take down the core of what you're doing well. This is a time to focus on the core of what you do. This is not the time to experiment. It's a time to reset, to think about your strategy, to think about your core. In the case of Kanu, it may make sense to do what they're doing, but I'd be very wary about starting new enterprises.
Nancy, social enterprise and social justice, do they mix well?
Well, I think I would look at it in a broader way, because Kelvin has some good cautionary comments, and what I grasped from what Alani was saying was not so much should nonprofits take on for-profit businesses to remain sustainable, but the idea of thinking outside the box for sustainability, and at the same time going to the core of our values and really working from that base. And so again, a business model, as Kelvin had said and I had said earlier, is Ed and this restaurant and the restaurants, and really looking at what are your values and how can you be sustainable. And nonprofit doesn't mean there's no money. We gotta all have money coming in. So whether it's a for-profit business or it's a way to run a nonprofit that is sustainable, those are the two key things that I hear in what Alani's raising, and Kanu is finding ways to do that work for Kanu by thinking outside the box, and really that's what I challenge all of us to do. I like that idea of the reset button. It's never going to be business as usual, and if it is, we're in a sick place again. So we don't want that. We don't want it to look like 2005 and 6, because those were the systems that fed upon themselves and crumbled. And there's still a lot of symptoms left from that, where CEOs of the biggest corporations that are falling apart are walking away with a lot of money, and it's unequal and unjust, and we need to redistribute the wealth at different levels. So that's what we stand for.